Steven, you know what grinds my gears?
Everything.
Well, I thought you were going to say everything. I knew you would say everything because everything does. Stuff grinds my gears. Kind of like those oysters, the oyster discussion I had the other day with myself on Instagram. And then I'm
creamy boogers.
People are like, if you're not into something that someone else is into, you shouldn't rain on their parade. And I thought I was going to work on that. I thought I was, yeah, that makes sense. I don't want to rain on someone's parade if they like something, but fucking oysters are horrible. They're horrible. And I'm going to rain on your parade. If you like the band Fish, they suck. Okay? Fish sucks.
I mean, unless you're on like acid, then it's a different story.
I love how everybody's like, yeah, this jam is so good. But that Amelia's Farmhouse or whatever the hell it's called is a very good song. I like that one.
I don't know if I've literally ever heard an actual Fish song.
Listen to that Farmhouse one.
Do I need to be on drugs to enjoy it?
No, I like it. That fish song I like.
This 20-minute jam band song's incredible.
I don't think I could last at a Fish show. One, because I'm not high and most other people are high. And I just don't get the people like, oh yeah, I'm gonna move my hips. This is so cool, man. That is the whole show. Anyway,
I only know a handful of people that actually go to Fish shows, and I will say those people take an insane amount of drugs on those nights.
Drugs!
I'm on drugs!
I'm a
golden god.
I'm a golden god. I'm on drugs.
Yeah.
What a good movie. Anyway, that's not what grinds my gears. That's just where I was going. The thing that really kind of gets me, it doesn't get me upset or anything, but I've heard it a lot with the younger generation of photographers who didn't grow up in the film era, and they have a way of saying shutter speed. They say shutter speed. No, I'm kidding. It's not what they actually say. It's how they actually say shutter speed when shutter speed is all about being shutter speed. So, for example, they say something like 1/100.
I mean,
when
it is a fraction, right?
But you don't say I'm setting my camera to 1/100.
Yeah.
You're setting it to 1/100th of a second. And then a teacher got on me and said, "Isn't that wrong too? And it should just be 100th of a second." I'm like, that's semantics.
Actually, I was going to say that I think both are right in that situation. Yeah.
Right. Those are very similar, but in when you're speaking, it's I am setting my camera to 1/100th of a second, or 100th of a second, or 200th of a second. Those are
because you're simply talking about time. 100th of a second.
Right. Not 1/100.
Yeah.
So I've seen it a lot, even with that Trevor Malman kid when I was out. You'll see it in the vlog when we finally get to the NASA vlog. Is I'm like, hey, where are your settings going to be for this generally? He's like, 1/2500. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? 1/25. What is wrong with you?
I mean, I can see if you're self-taught reading that, seeing 1/100 and thinking that's how you say it. I could see that, but in the world of YouTube, you would think that they would kind of see other videos and see how people say it correctly. And now, obviously we grew up taking film classes and photo classes and learning the proper way to say it. But again, the newer youngins coming up, I could see them simply being self-trained and trying to figure out and messing up the pronunciation.
Yeah, so I'm not yelling at them. I'm just this is educational yelling.
I'm not making fun of them, but
I'm not making fun of them. I'm just pointing it out. But then I don't want to hear people coming to us and being like, it's ISO because Tony Northrup says it's ISO. I'm like, no, it's fucking ISO for fuck's sake. I don't care what anybody says about that. It's ISO, just like ASA
Jared,
was
it's
ASA.
The International Organization of Standards, not the other way around. So it's not really an acronym.
Crimea River.
At the end of the day, I don't care how you say anything as long as you can take a picture.
Yeah, sure.
You care.
Sure. Yeah, I care, Steven.
Who was it that kept messing up 1/1000th? Was it Todd or you?
It was Todd.
During the video guide?
Yeah, Todd couldn't say it 1/1000th. He
I swear we took like 12 takes of him. Every time he'd be like 1/1000th.
Whatever it was, he couldn't get it right. But so the moral of the story here is it's 1/2500th of a second, 1/8000th of a second, or 8000th of a second, or 1/100th.
The tricky part is how do you throw in the variable shutter options when it's like 1/2548th of a second?
Oh, you mean the new ones with the variable shutter speeds? It's
and like when there's a decimal on the
No, you know what I say, Steven? It's 1/837.53 because I use the 1 over. No, it's 1/853.25 of a second.
Like, do you say the 0.3 at the end? How do you say that?
I do.
Yeah, that's a tricky one.
I do. It's new. It's new, so we can invent whatever we want to because it's not like been going on for years.
That's true. Yeah.
So that's the moral of the story here is that's something that grinds my gears. So I hope it doesn't grind your gears either.
Angry.
Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about the future of Canon mirrorless cameras. Hey, Steven.
Yes.
You know, as a Canon shooter, what do you think the future holds for the brand in the mirrorless space?
Well, I do think the future for Canon mirrorless cameras is looking pretty bright, despite some challenges in the market. I think Canon has a strong history and a loyal fan base. It's just going to continue to support the brand.
I kind of agree with that because I've been a Canon shooter for a few years, and I have a lot of faith in the brand itself. But like everybody, I do think that Canon needs to continue to innovate and adapt to change with the market in order to stay relevant in the mirrorless world.
Absolutely. I mean, the Canon market is constantly evolving, and I think Canon needs to stay ahead of the curve in order to remain competitive in this market. And I think one area where Canon has really excelled in recent years is their focus on high quality image sensors.
Yeah, I agree. I think that their image sensors are a strong point for Canon. And I think with the release of the R5 and the R6 a couple years ago, I think it's showing that they're committed to continuing to innovate and improve in the mirrorless space.
Definitely. I think the R5 and R6 are great examples of how Canon is able to take what they've learned from previous models and use that to create even better cameras. And I think this kind of iterative approach is key for any brand to stay relevant and competitive.
Yeah, I can't go on anymore, Steven. I just can't do it anymore. We got to tell everybody this is written by AI, and Alan Iverson wrote this. No, so basically, I wrote into this AI thing that's going all around, the one that MKBHD was using. Write a discussion between Jared Polin and Stephen Eckert for RAWtalk podcast about the future of Canon mirrorless cameras, and it spit out this dialogue that goes back and forth.
Oh, it felt so fake reading it, though.
Well, you sounded fake reading some of it. You know, there's a whole discussion obviously going on about AI. This thing's pretty insane. I've used it so far to test out as a tool, as a starting point to see like, how could it be for a script, right? This was more of a discussion. But when I write into it something like, write a script in the tone of Frono's photo on something, and it does, that's pretty insane.
The scary part is that in your scripts, you like to ask the audience, like how do you say it? You always phrase it like, well, you might be thinking, Jared, why are you saying it like this or whatever?
Exactly.
And the AI actually wrote it that way, like you posing yourself a question. It was weird.
For example, I wrote, write a YouTube script in the style of Frono's photo about the Canon EOS R6 Mark II. And it reads, hi there, I'm Jared Polin, also known as Frono's photo. And I didn't give it my name. And today we're talking about the Canon EOS R6 Mark II. This is the latest addition to Canon's lineup of mirrorless cameras, and it's packed full of features that make it a great choice for photographers of all levels. It really sounds like something B&H would write. It's so generic that it's something that the generic
there's no detailed specs. Yeah, it's just like, oh, let me look at the overview of what the R6 offers.
One of the standout features of the R6 Mark II is its impressive autofocus system. It uses Canon's dual-pixel CMOS AF technology, which allows for fast and accurate autofocus tracking even when shooting at high speeds. This makes it great for capturing fast-moving subjects like sports and wildlife. Now, it got pretty much everything right except for, and with a 20-megapixel full-frame sensor, that it didn't get right. That's something that it will continue to get better about. But MKBHD even talked about this in his script. It's like it gets majority of things right and maybe misses one or two things.
Oh, and I think it probably scours the internet and looks for
Steven,
like...
are you reading an AI script right now, or is this you speaking?
This is me. But it probably...
Fuck you! Why doesn't it curse at me?
It probably searches around and finds, the press releases and general reviews. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if half of this is plagiarized and literally taken word for word from a certain website, or even from written reviews that we did years ago when we would actually write a review on top of the real world review.
So what you're saying is it's like Jasmine Star and getting caught
throwback.
plagiarizing
Multiple
3
times.
articles for her photography. Do you know how big she is now on the internet?
Well, she's more like an influencer now, right? Yeah.
Guru. Okay, we're going down this rabbit
She's
hole.
out of the photography sphere at this point, right?
Jasmine Star Home. Oh, here she is. Hi, I'm Jasmine Star, a photographer and business strategist who empowers entrepreneurs to build a brand, market on social media, and create a life they love. Oh, let's read more about Jasmine. In 2015, I was accused of plagiarizing, and I did. Let's see. I left law school, picked up a camera, pursued curiosity, and built the business of my dreams. A decade later, I educate entrepreneurs on how to do the same, all while plagiarizing a lot of what's on this website.
I remember I watched one of Creative Live's first videos where they did a live wedding photo shoot with her. And it was pretty amazing. It was like a 2 or 3 hour live stream of an entire wedding ceremony front to back. That's how I found out about her. And then years later, this whole plagiarism thing happened.
Well, yeah, I will never forget. You never forget, Stephen.
Well, now, yeah, I mean, when you do it multiple times.
No, people never forget.
That was like 8 years ago. Constantly referencing Superbad.
I'm looking up Jasmine Star.
And while you're doing that, back to this AI discussion, the only thing that I've realized after you sent me a couple of these scripts, whether we're talking about the R6 Mark II or like this Canon script, for example, if we would have kept reading, it talks about the recent release of the 15 to 35 Canon lens and the recent release of the R5 and R6 mirrorless cameras. I think everything's a little behind.
Yeah.
It's not, it's 2-3 years behind on the internet because it probably takes so long to search, I guess.
The database.
Like the R6 Mark II. When you said write a script about the R6 Mark II, everything was about the R6 because it probably doesn't even realize the R6 Mark II is even a thing yet.
Yeah.
It's only been out for how many, months.
I'm stuck on Jasmine Star's website here.
Oh, here we go. Going down the rabbit hole.
I went down the rabbit hole. She has a podcast, The Podcast. Welcome to the place where we have conversations. Kind of like I'm whispering in your ears, but way less awkward. I'm whispering in your ear right now. Hey, does this make it tingle in that special area, whether you're a man, woman, or other?
6
does
to
this make
midnight.
it tingle? That's right. What was that noise? Was that Steven, is that you hitting the desk with your penis?
Damn.
The Jasmine Star Show is a conversational business podcast exploring what it really means to turn your passion into profit. I fucking hate these gurus, Steven. I really do. Motivational. Oh, there's an episode
I'm your life coach.
Unstuck. The only 4 words you need. A few weeks ago, JD, Luna, and I went on to the campus at Stanford University for kickoff week. Latin Business Action Network.
I have no idea what you're reading right now.
I don't know. I'm reading. I'm closing Jasmine Star to bring it back, Stephen, because Jasmine Star would say, look, try not to deviate from your path. And if you want to find your inner peace and your inner sanctum and the true meaning of your future, then just type something into this AI and have it spit it out and then read it and live your life by that. Oh, fucking A, dude. I just got an idea, Stephen.
What's that?
Stephen, I just got an idea. Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God.
Write a script like Jasmine Star.
No. Write a YouTube video in the style of Gary Vaynerchuk about NFTs. Okay, let's see what it comes up with.
This is the future. Bye.
It won't let me do it. It said too many requests. Slow down.
Yeah, so is this service free?
It is free, but it's not. I guess I've done it
Maybe
too
it's
many
every
times.
30 minutes you can like put a new script in or something like that.
Well, I accidentally hit go on something else and write a script in the style of Gary Vaynerchuk about NFTs.
Photo.
Okay, let's see. It's writing, Stephen. It's thinking. It's blinking. It's thinking. I'm going to read it as it writes it. It's still blinking though. Yeah. Ooh, that's really good, Stephen. You should
like
sell that. Hi, everyone. It's Gary Vaynerchuk here, and I want to talk to you about something that's been blowing up in the world of art and collectibles. NFTs are non-fungible tokens. If you're not familiar with NFTs, here's the deal. They're digital assets that use blockchain technology to verify their authenticity and ownership. This means that unlike regular digital art, an NFT is unique and can't be replicated or copied. But why are people so excited about NFTs? Well, for one, they're giving artists a new way to learn, blah, blah, blah. Come on, give me more Gary Vee stuff.
Did you say write it in the style of Gary Vee?
Write a script in the style of Gary Vaynerchuk about NFTs.
Because right now it just seems like they're just talking about what NFTs are.
General NFTs. So that's one of the things I'm starting to notice is it's very general.
Yeah.
But it's still a good starting point.
See, I'm scared about just the future in general when it comes to kids writing papers.
Well, let's talk about it.
I mean, it's that easy where write a paper about this chapter in this book or write a recap of, this chapter, etc. It's scary.
It is, and the kids are going to get caught in it because
but how?
Us as adults...
How are they going to get caught?
Well, I bet you that a teacher could type in something and it's going to spit something similar out. But there's going to be safeguards. There has to be something where using the AI obviously is going to be, you're going to figure it out. But what if you use it as a starting point and then you go in and you change it up? And to write a script like that is pretty insane. To have certain things spit out to you, like give me a summary of The Catcher in the Rye.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I haven't tried that yet.
Like the summer book reading, which I never ever did. They would always ask for like an essay on the book that you read over the summer, and I would just make up shit half the time or not even do it. ESSAY.
Essay going loco.
Not that kind of essay. Nope.
Write an essay about the catcher in the. Is it RYE?
I think it's RYE. Yeah. Right.
In the Rye, yeah, RYE. So let's see what it comes up with. I mean, it should give you a pretty good essay. Essay? Who you going, essay? You going loco. The locos kick your face. The locos kick your ass. The locos kick your balls into outer space. Hashtag Johnny number 5. The Catcher in the Rye, written by J.D. Salinger, is a coming-of-age novel that follows the story of Holden Caulfield, a teenage boy who has been kicked out of his prep school. The novel explores themes of adolescence, disillusionment, and the complexities of growing up. Holden is a complex and often difficult character to understand. He is bitter and cynical. Wait, is this me? And then often struggles to connect with others. Fuck, this is me. He is also deeply sensitive and struggles to cope with the complexities of adult world. This is also
Jared.
One of the key themes of the novel is the idea of innocence and growing up. Holden is obsessed with the idea of childhood innocence and spends much of the novel longing for a simpler time. He is before AI. He is deeply disillusioned by the adult world and struggles to understand why people have grown up and lose their innocence. Another important theme of the novel is the idea of alienation and isolation. Holden is a lonely and isolated character, and he often feels... Shut up. Like an outsider. Fuck you. He struggles to connect. I'm not supposed to curse. To connect with others and finds it difficult to form meaningful shit. This is me. This isolation ultimately leads to his downfall and eventual mental breakdown, not me. Overall, The Catcher in the Rye is a powerful and thought-provoking novel that explores the complexities of adolescence and growing up. Its themes of innocence, disillusionment, and isolation continue to resonate with readers today. That's like a 400-word essay that you could use as a starting point.
Now, are you limited in how many words it'll?
No, because the script, the conversation that it gave us about you and I was longer.
And you could probably say write 1,000 words on Catcher in the Rye.
I didn't try that, Steven.
Because that was always one thing. You had to hit the minimum of so many words for your essay.
1,000-word. How do you spell essay?
It's not ESE like the one you've been saying.
Essay?
It's ESSAY.
Well, that's how you spell essay is ESE?
Yeah.
ESSAY?
That's the essay you should be using.
Not easy. Write 1,000-word essay on what? Let's come up with something good here.
On Jared Polin and his loneliness.
No, I don't want to try. I don't think it can come up with okay, fine. Write 1,000-word essay on Jared Polin. Let's see if it has anything there. It's thinking.
Need more words.
Can't. Loser. Douchebag. Those are 2 words. Jared Polin is a popular American photographer and YouTuber known for his vibrant and colorful photography, as well as his engaging and informative videos on photography and photo editing. Polin's first
Skittles.
became... Dude, this is fucking nuts. How is it... it crawled the fuck... You ready? Polin first became interested in photography at a young age, and he quickly developed a passion for the art form. He began experimenting with men. Oh, shit.
100% accurate.
That's funny, Steven. Can I say that on a podcast?
It's called
I
RAWtalk.
didn't experiment with anybody until I was older. I was such a pussy when it came to like women. I would bother them and be like a nudge and be like, hee, hi. And any opportunity that I think back on where I could have totally made out with a girl, I was like, shit, I could have made out with that girl, but I didn't know I wanted to play with her brother's toys. You know, I was like, what is wrong with
her
me?
Her brother's toys.
Well, I'm like 12 years old or 11 or 10. Anyway, Polin first became interested in photography at a young age, and he quickly developed a passion for the art form. He began experimenting with different techniques and styles, and he soon found success as a professional photographer. Well, this isn't even true. In addition to his photography, Polin is also known for his popular YouTube channel, Frono's Photo.
There you go.
On his channel, he shares helpful tips and advice on photography, as well as reviews of the latest camera gear, cameras, and lenses. His videos are often energetic and humorous, making them both informative and entertaining, which they're definitely taking my fun and informative statement and changing
and tweaking it. Yeah.
One of the things that sets Polin apart from other photographers and YouTubers is his unique style. Should have said hairstyle. His photography is vibrant and colorful, and he often uses bold compositions and bright colors to make his images stand out. He also is known for his use of flash photography, which adds depth. Now we know
Definitely
this is full
inaccurate.
of shit. Now we know this isn't right because I don't do that. In addition to his photography. Oh, Jesus Christ. See, I know why it did that. The next line. In addition to his photography and YouTube channel, Polin is also the author of several books on photography, including The Beginner's Guide to Photography and Flash Photography, The Complete Guide. These books are full of helpful tips and advice, and they're valuable resources for photographers of all levels. Despite his success, Polin remains humble and down to earth. We know this isn't true. No, because we're going to talk about that later too. He is known for his friendly and approachable demeanor.
He's so modest.
This isn't even true. It's friendly and I'm an asshole. And he often goes out of his way to help. Yeah, he goes out of his way to help other photographers and answers their questions. He is also active on social media, where he shares his latest photos and videos with his fans
and his thoughts.
Overall, Jared Polin is a talented photographer, yet he's an asshole. Oh, wait, it doesn't say it. And a valuable resource for photographers of all levels. His unique style, engaging videos, and helpful books have made him a leader in the photography community, and he continues to inspire and educate photographers around the world. So this is a prime example of what's wrong with this AI. It has a lot of falsities in here. And so if a kid does not read something, it is possible.
Yeah, but I think when they're doing something on like, again, Catcher in the Rye, a book that's been around forever, I think it's going to be pretty accurate with that.
I guess you're right. You're kind of right. But that was kind of bad because this is like, I'm not humble.
But then with the modest and humble part, like, where did they come up with that? Like, was someone saying that about you? Or does it just randomly just generate different adjectives for people? I don't know.
I do. I think it's taking what people would want to say and putting it in there, and it had no support for it. But knowing the fun and informative thing, it definitely scrolled, or it probably looked up text from the internet. I don't know that they can scrape all of the YouTube videos or not for the audio.
Well, yeah,
do
like,
that stuff.
Is it captioning audio?
I don't know. It's probably scrolling captions somewhere. If they're cached somewhere, maybe it has access to them. So anyway, that's the AI discussion. I want to move on from that onto something else, but it is pretty nuts what's going on right there. And you just saw it in real time that it just wrote something. And I'm sure people are wondering what site it is. It's chat.openai.com.
And it's a free service, right? Is there any paid upgrade?
As of right now, it's free. I guarantee you these things are going to start to get... there's going to be some services that you'll start to pay for to make this stuff work. And I am working on a script for an AI video and how it's going to affect photographers. And we're going to film that, I believe, tomorrow morning.
Yes.
And try to get that out into the world next week or during the holidays or something so that we can give my take on how AI is affecting photographers or will affect photographers. So did you see this moon mission?
I just saw whatever you sent me. I didn't really read up about it.
Yeah, so 4 years ago, this guy who goes by the name of MZ, I believe, he's a billionaire, a fashion designer, and he teamed up with SpaceX to buy out some launches to take people on a trip, civilians, artists, around the moon and back, because he wants to see how artists will create around the moon, like how they'll be inspired and what they'll do by doing this. Now,
wow, for once, a billionaire spending money for something that doesn't really benefit them.
Doesn't benefit them, but it also doesn't benefit a lot of people because it's 8 people going and him. But they're going to be going on a SpaceX ship that hasn't launched yet officially.
They're just going around the moon. They're not actually landing or anything, correct?
No, they're not landing. That would be insane if they did that before NASA. That would be fucking nuts.
So how much is this costing this billionaire?
Well, they don't say how much it costs. I would venture to say it's $1 billion at least.
Oh, it's got to be.
But
Three Comma
they're
Club.
launching the Starship, right? They're supposed to go atop of Starship. Starship is going to be another huge rocket, a la the Artemis 1 rocket, but it's going to cost a hell of a lot less money because it's using a newer fuel that's much more sustainable, less expensive. But it hasn't landed. They haven't launched an official rocket yet. So they're supposed to go in 2023, but there's no way in hell that's going to happen. They have to do a ton more tests actually to successfully do this and fly a ship around the moon and bring it back before they go on it. But the moral of the story of bringing this up is it's weird. All the articles I read that were photography centric were like 2 photographers were selected. Well, if they actually did some research, they would understand that there were 2 photographers selected, but Tim Dodd, who is the everyday astronaut, also started as a photographer. And then there's the person that they picked that is a filmmaker. And part of it makes you think that it was a popularity contest on who they picked because Steve Aoki was picked, which I find
we're going to pick at random right now, and popular DJ Steve Aoki.
Yeah, so Steve Aoki applied. Well, that's good marketing right there. We
were on a plane with him before.
We were in line to fly to Vegas from Philly. He was trying to get on in first class, and they stopped him. He had his pillow, he had everything, because obviously the guy nonstop flies, and this wasn't a private jet. But he was something with the ticket wasn't there, so he turned to look for his assistant, who then ran up, or his manager, road manager, who then took care of everything. And he sat in 1A, the first one in the plane. So
best of the best.
Yeah, he wasn't creating an issue. They were stopping him because of something with the ticket.
I just remember there being an issue,
Yeah, the other guy came up to take care of it, his manager, so that he didn't have to do it. But so there's Steve Aoki. There's this K-pop celebrity who has a ton of followers. There was another Middle Eastern person who has a ton of followers. The 2 photographers are unknown and didn't have
the least
a
amount of following.
Yeah. And the filmmaker guy only had like 3,600 people on Instagram. So, that's the first thing I looked at. But they were all selected, and you had to apply and say, what would you create? Why would you do this? And they interviewed people, and I honestly didn't do it. But watching these stories that they filmed of why are you going? What are you interested? What are you going to capture? Are you afraid? Made me think about what I would do if I was there.
You would tell the story, Jared, with your wides, mediums, tights, and details.
Yeah, the wides, medium, tights, and details of the moon in the background. Yes, that's what I would do. I would document the entire process of the training to the launches to whatever.
And I think that would all be great. I think it would be really tough to get, are you strapped in the entire time? How are you taking photos in the flight?
The entire time. You're not strapped in the entire time.
Okay, just during launch and that's it.
Well, yeah, just during launch, and then you're going to be floating around.
I've never flown around the moon. I don't know how it works.
You've never floated around the moon?
I've seen Apollo 13. That's about it.
You never floated around the moon?
I have not, no.
Well, yeah, so what happens is...
I was not one of the lucky chosen ones.
You get launched into space.
Oh, tell me how it works, Jared.
Well, so there's a rocket, and then you're strapped to the top of the rocket.
Here we go.
Well, let me ask the AI, how does rocket flight work? See, that would come out with something. It probably also...
because it's all just factual. It also
trolls Wikipedia.
It's black and white. This is what it is. This is how rockets work.
Right. So it's going to be a 6-day journey around the moon and back. And that's all well and good if the thing actually doesn't blow up on the launch pad.
How much room do you think they have in this spaceship?
It's supposed to be a pretty spacey, no pun intended.
When we say spacey, though, are we talking like a couple feet?
It's supposed to be a very large space. We're talking like maybe 200, 300 square feet. Let me Google this. Let me actually Google it.
Oh, okay. That is actually fairly big.
How large will Starship be for passengers? NASA. How many people will fit in can Starship fit 100 people? Well, yes, they're thinking that it's going to fit a lot of people. Each one can carry about 100 people to Mars, so each ship can fly 800 people within the next 38 years.
And it's just I question, how's the lighting inside the ship? Are there tons of windows where there's going to be a lot of illuminating moonlight coming in?
There's supposed to be. There's supposed to be some big windows.
Because what if you get up there and you're the filmmaker and there's like zero light and you're like, oh crap.
Steven, you got the sunlight.
Well, again, that's why I'm asking, is there a lot of windows? If there's not a ton of windows, then you're not going to have much sunlight.
There's supposed to be a lot of windows. It's supposed to be roomy. It's supposed to be better than what has ever gone up before. And that's what, well, maybe not the space shuttle.
And SpaceX has never sent a human being to space, correct?
Yes, they have.
Oh, they have?
Yes, they did. They did Bob and Doug or something. It was Bob and Doug.
Where did they go?
They went to the space station.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they've launched on the Crew Dragon.
Okay.
They did it. They made it work. So they've done it, but they haven't done this rocket yet. So my biggest concern is like, I don't know that I would actually.
Would you risk your
take
life?
The risk?
Yeah.
Would you take the risk, Steven?
I mean, it's literally a once in a lifetime opportunity.
It is to go around the moon.
I don't know. It's hard to say. Because I would have to definitely sleep on it, and it depends. Like if I was single, I would probably take the chance. But if I had a family, if I had children, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, space, the thing they say about space is that it wants to kill you. Everything about space wants to kill you.
Human beings are not meant to be there. So
this is going to be a very interesting experiment. I don't think it's going to go in 2023. I don't think it will go before the 2030. Well, maybe 2029, 28. I mean, give it another 4 or 5. I mean, it took them 3 years from what Dodd said to get the Crew Dragon off the ground and successful in sending people. So, I don't know. They've been working on this for a minute now, but they haven't successfully launched a rocket yet, fully successfully, and landed and all that stuff. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I don't know that I would go. I think I would be leaning towards kind of curious to want to do it because the coolness factor. No one else has done it. I mean, very few people in the history of humankind that we know of has actually gone around the moon. A handful. So that's what I got to say about that.
It's interesting for sure. I'm curious how what these creators are going to do. I'm wondering, is Steve Aoki going to be prepared before he goes up and have someone of something he made beforehand, or is he going to actually create something in space during the 6-day period?
He said what he needs. He just needs his headphones and a laptop.
Sure.
I would assume he needs a microphone because I bet you he's going to take sounds of the launch from inside and sounds of the bleeps and the blops and the creaks and the craps and the whatever and twist some knobs and then do this, Steven.
Fist pump
a bunch of times because he's like, yeah, I want to DJ in space. I'm like, why? How's that helping humanity? I mean, what? Like, that's like, how's that helping people?
How does sound travel when you're in zero gravity?
I don't know. Hold on. Hello. Is there anybody out there?
Is anybody alive out there?
I don't know. I don't know how sound travels. But they did send back sound from Mars. They put a helicopter on Mars recently, and they flew it, and they sent back sounds of Mars. Pretty crazy.
Wow.
Anyway, we'll move on from space. This is pretty insane what they're doing.
It's a very futuristic episode. AI, space, the moon.
Yeah, that's true, Steven. Let's talk about me meeting Pete Souza for the first time.
You did an interview with him though before, right?
We did. Yeah. I did. By we, I mean me. I'm humble. Very humble. So Pete Souza, I found out, was coming to Danny Clinch's gallery. Now, Danny Clinch is a photographer that we also interviewed in RAWtalk back in the day. Mm-hmm. And I saw they were selling tickets for $75 at the gallery in Asbury Park, and I'm like, that's a small space. I want to go to this because I've never met Pete before. So since I've never met Pete other than interviewing him, I wanted to meet him in person. So I bought a ticket. I know Danny, and it was great. I went over there, got to meet Pete before the show, before he started to do his presentation, and it ended up being, it was cool. He did a great job.
Do you think he would ever reverse roles and let you kind of photograph him, like a day in the life, kind of what he did with, obviously, Obama every single day? That would be really interesting to photograph him. Except
there's photograph him on a shoot?
Or just whatever if he's going to a gallery or, doing a photo shoot.
I mean,
obviously not just like I'm sitting at home doing nothing, but a day that's eventful.
Yeah, no, I personally wouldn't even ask that.
I'm curious what his response would be though.
Yeah. But what I found interesting is he has a whole slideshow prepared, and some of the stuff is in the book and some of the stuff isn't in his new book, but it's the stories that go along with it, the moments, what was going on. Like what was going on in that Situation Room when they killed bin Laden. And he's talking about how he was backed into a corner because the room was small and his butt was up against a laser printer, and then he set it off, and it was like just little things. Or something that he wasn't happy with, or like the picture where the kid is touching Obama's hair. He's like, this happened so quick and I'm not happy exactly with my composition, but I got the shot and that's all that mattered. It wasn't perfect, but it was, I wasn't in the right space, but I got the shot type of stuff.
Now, was he just talking about his situation during this actual photo, or was he talking about like what Obama was talking about during this particular picture and blah, blah, blah?
Anything that's
the story behind the photo, I guess.
Anything that's been made public, he'll talk about.
Okay.
Right. He also talked about how, with Danny talked about how he got to go to the White House thanks to Pete, and he brought a picture of B.B. King that he took to give to the president if he got a chance for Pete to do it. And Pete was able to give it to him, and then took Danny with him and said, wait right here. When the president's done his dinner or something, he's going to come out and say something. So he did. He brought him out, and they led him to like there's an elevator that goes up to the president residence. And so he went in. Danny was right outside. Danny's like getting these angles of low end pictures, and he's like, oh, look, Obama's reaching his hand out to shake someone's hand. And then he realized that he was reaching out to shake his hand. And so it's a really cool photo because the cool warm light of the elevator, it's a special elevator, like wood panels, all this cool stuff. And you see Obama just like reaching his hand out is really cool. Let me see if I can Google this. Danny Clinch.
Well, while you're doing that, what I like about Pete Souza specifically is how he's very much like Brandon Stanton of like Humans of New York, where he's not just posting a single picture, but he's explaining the actual story behind that particular photo. So as he's posting these pictures, he's always storytelling and explaining the why behind the photo.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing. So if you Google it, there is a very low resolution version up there on Facebook. It comes up on Google if you search it. You can see.
What'd you search? Danny Clinch Obama?
Danny Clinch Obama photo.
Okay.
And it came up. Now the color isn't as good on this one, but it is kind of cool. And I wonder if Danny's in the reflection or not. But you've got Michelle, you got two Secret Service people, and you got the president. I mean, it's a cool shot, right?
And again, if you didn't say he was reaching out to shake his hand, it almost looks like he's like posing, like, "Hey."
Yeah. Almost. But yeah, so it's the stuff like that. I like going to these events where you can get better stories, right? But it's kind of like podcasts. That's why I like podcasts, because sometimes you don't have to go to the events. But in this case, I wanted to talk to Pete, and it was very nice to actually talk with him. And he's like, didn't we do an interview together? And so that was nice that he recognized. And then
I didn't recognize you without your tight shirt on.
Then they opened up for some Q&A.
Okay. Did you ask a question?
I did. I was the first to ask a question.
That's weird.
I raised my hand, bro. I wanted to be seen.
Like me.
Well, so I asked things that I would find interesting. Like, I wanted to know about file management. I don't want to know, like, what was said in this room. Like, I'm never going to ask that stuff. But let's talk about file management. Oh, by the way, before I get into that, he did talk about why he chose Canon at the time.
Why is that?
He said he started trying, he had Leica first. He thought he was going to use a Leica R8 at the time, and he said it was garbage.
Wow.
He said it was garbage.
So
it didn't do what he needed to do.
2007, I guess? Well, when he actually...
2007, 2008. Yeah. But he said that the reason he picked the R5, and by R5 I mean
5D,
Mark is that
II,
it had,
correct? Actually, the Mark II was maybe not. It wasn't even out yet.
I don't know. I think it was just a 5D.
Yeah.
He said it had the quietest shutter of all the shutters on the market right then, which it did. So that was one of his reasonings for using that. And the lenses that he used to use was like a 35, a 50, and a 135. And then when they came out with the 24 to 70 2.8, he started to use that because he's a version 2 of that. He said was much better than the version 1.
Version 1 was pretty soft, yeah.
Right. So that's why he's like, I switched that. And that's really what he ran around with. But my question was around file management and then one other. So I was like, how did you manage files on the road? He's like, we had a couple of different hard drives and we made sure that, stuff was backed up like that. And then my follow up to that was, did you ever lose a card? not physically lose it, but
Corrupt.
did you? And he goes, actually, we did have an issue where we lost some very important images for this one person, and
It's like deleting history. That's a major issue.
We had to send it out, and they were able to recover most of the images, he said. So he did have a card issue. Now, he wasn't redundant then because they didn't have redundant recording.
Yeah.
There were no 2 card slots. So that was what I wanted. Believe me, I had more questions that I would ask, but it wasn't the Jared show because I'm very humble and don't want to be the center of attention all the time. But that was where I wanted to go with it.
Did he explain how many photos he took every day? Because that's what I'm curious about.
I think the total was 2 million photos.
Oh, a day?
Total.
Okay. I'm asking about
take 2 million photos a day. No, I think he took over 2 million photos.
Okay.
Average it out over a year. So we've got AI. We got 365 times 8 is 2,920 2,920th of a second. So 2 million divided by, what did I say?
2,000 something.
2992 or something. It's like 682 images a day.
It's actually not that many.
I don't think that makes sense, does it?
Well, it kind of makes sense based on the frame rate back then.
2,500.
I mean, what did the original 5D do?
It makes sense.
It was probably like 5 frames a second, if I had to guess.
Yeah, 4 or 5. So to put that into perspective, I photographed the owner of Zahav, Michael Solomonov, yesterday all day, and I took 3,100 fucking photos with the R3.
Well, again, you're shooting 20, 30 frames a second, right?
I'm shooting 30 frames a second. And
yeah, so you're like...
But I will edit it down to the best 40, and that's where it will come to.
Oh, look at this. The 5D was only 3 frames per second, the original
Really?
5D. And then the 5D Mark II came out in, I think, 2008. This was 2005. So he might have just upgraded to the Mark II when
Maybe.
Obama started.
Maybe.
So the 5D Mark II came out in September of 2008.
Do you know another revelation or a realization I had when I was sitting there in the room? He was showing pictures. Like he showed a picture of Obama at a restaurant sitting with a person, right?
Oh,
the behind the
familiar.
scenes stuff. Yeah, it sounds familiar.
I mean,
And
that's the best stuff when you show the humanity of the president.
He showed another image, and I'm like, all right. And I don't get I wasn't jealous of this at all. I more sat there and was reaffirmed of the one thing that I like to know, like that I think is that I'm really good. And that is coming back to the humble thing, is because I knew you would get upset, and you always say, Jared, don't say this stuff. But the truth of the matter is I looked at the work and I saw his work, and I'm like, you know what? It's very similar to the stuff I was doing out on the road.
I'm better than him.
I didn't say that. I said this reaffirms the fact that I'm really good and I know what I'm doing.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's general photojournalism. You're fly on the wall, you're taking pictures of a particular subject, and you're following him around throughout the day. It's not rocket science.
Well, but you know what is rocket science?
Here
Dear
we go.
Moon Project.
Yeah.
Going to the moon.
See, I tied it all together.
There. AI brings it all back in circles and all that good stuff. Yeah, so it was cool meeting him, and if you do get a chance to check out Pete Souza speaking somewhere, if it's $75 to pay, you end up getting a book at the end, so you get a book, and he signs the book, and he wrote in mine, thank you for doing what you do for the community or something.
Okay.
So he's aware of what I do, and then in 4 of the books, he did put signed prints. I didn't get one, but
it was like a golden ticket.
Basically, yeah, they actually physically put the print in the book.
That's cool.
And they handed them out.
Did you get to talk to Clinch at all?
Yeah, I talk to Danny all the time.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I mean, he was definitely a big influence for me when it came to concert photography. Obviously in the music world, we've always heard about him and how friendly he is, especially with like Pearl Jam and that whole crew. I love his work. Yeah,
he's awesome. He's got a really cool gallery in Asbury Park called Transparent Gallery.
We went to his studio to actually film that interview at RAWtalk for RAWtalk.
We did. If you're ever in Asbury Park, definitely stop by Transparent Gallery. He may be there, he may not be there, but yeah, he I didn't realize I think he's 58 years old. He does not look 58 years old, in my opinion.
He's a good-looking dude. Yeah, he looks young.
And I didn't realize he has a couple of grown kids at this point.
I bet. Because he was what, Annie Leibovitz?
In the 90s, he was an assistant.
It was her assistant, yeah.
Yeah, meaning he did all the work. No, meaning he was like, oh, yeah, here, Annie, here's your camera.
That sounds familiar.
I did everything. What are you trying to say, Steven? What are you trying to say?
Nothing.
What are you trying to say Steven? This is RAWtalk.
No, it just sounds familiar, that's all.
I don't know what you're trying to get at, Steven. Don't be that guy.
Jared, here's your camera. Everything's set up. I'm
That's not
kidding.
how it
You do
works.
photojournalism. It's totally different.
The only thing that works with is when we're testing lenses and you're like, Jared, all right, we're going to have a model and we're going to set up the camera on a tripod.
We just did it last week.
So that we can replicate the same thing.
I literally got you to come in and take the picture because I needed B-roll of you taking the picture. I could have just took the picture myself.
You could have, but this is real, Steven.
Yeah.
This is real.
Speaking of B-roll, I had to film B-roll of you for this SSD SanDisk sponsored video that we just did. And dude, it's like pulling teeth trying to get decent B-roll of you every single time.
I was good this time.
Trying to direct you as you're stuffing your pants with a t-shirt to make your bulge look bigger, obviously as a joke.
That was funny. Did it make the cut? It made the cut, didn't it?
No, I'm pretty sure I didn't use that one. Although I kind of could have used it and it would have, you couldn't really tell. Because it wasn't adding much more to what's not there already.
Yeah, exactly.
No, because I had to get you stuffing your pockets with the SSD to showcase how small and compact it is. And as I'm doing that, I hit record and you're like turning around, like stuffing your pants with a shirt.
I had to stuff it with something because I thought it was funny that I was going to turn around and Steven, because he was doing a tight shot of my pocket, which inevitably has my crotch in it. And so I'm like, well, this is going to be funny. I'm going to stuff my pant. And then he's like, what are you doing? And then I handed him my phone so I could Insta story it because it was funny.
And then I had to do a whole sequence of you using the actual SSD and editing off of it and transferring files to it. So I got like a wide shot and then a close up over the shoulder and then a close up of your face. And as I'm doing like the close up of your face, you're making these stupid, silly faces. And I'm like, no.
No, you're like, don't talk.
Well, that's the other thing. You talk to me and I'm like, no. Because it looks like you're just talking to yourself in the B-roll. No talking. We're pretending you're at the computer.
Yeah, but then I still talked as if I was a ventriloquist.
Well, so the one clip I had you blurred out in the background on the computer and then a close-up of the SanDisk SSD in focus. So you could talk still in the background, but you're trying to do, like you said, a ventriloquist, and you're just like, oh, Steven, you suck. This B-roll is terrible. But I couldn't tell because you were blurred out. So that worked.
Yeah.
But yeah, just your acting skills are always on par.
They are on par. So what Steven's talking, we've got this video for SanDisk. It is a sponsored video, but I have bought this. The reason we got this sponsored video is because
we love the product.
I bought the products before they were a sponsor, and I loved what the products were. And I said, if there's ever a budget that you have, we would be more than happy to make a video. So that all came together. And
it's a product showcase at the end of the day.
We call it a product showcase. We do not call it a review.
No.
Just like those websites out there that go on the trips with us and then come back and call the camera a first review. See, first review to me, calling it a first review, Steven, we call it preview with a lowercase p because it's basically a review, but it's a preview. It's a P with a capital review, but calling it an initial review is a very shady way of saying that you just want to get review in the title.
For search, yeah. I mean, I do get an initial or first review because based on firmware updates these days, you really do need to almost have a follow-up review after the fact when it's like version 2, like Nikon, for example, with firmware 2.0 and 3.0. The camera has dramatically changed once 2.0 came and all the new video features came out with the Z9. But for us, what we usually do is a first initial real world or preview, and then we come back with a separate dedicated video for like the firmware updates if it is a worthy firmware update.
Generally, it's almost a review. It is a review, but we can't call it because of the pre-pro models.
Because technically it's pre-production, which I think is bullshit. They're just saying it's pre-production because if something is wrong with the camera or we spot something wrong, they're going to blame it on it being pre-production and that the final production unit will not have that issue.
Yeah,
even though
which is
usually 99% of the time, the final production firmware ships the same exact way that we reviewed it the day of.
Yeah. So anyway, the moral of the story is there will be it's actually a really, I like the video. I like the way it was shot. We actually used 8K for in the 5D, R5. Jesus, Jared. We actually used 8K. That was my idea. Steven's like said something to me. I'm like, Steven, just set it to 8K and then punch in later. He's like, that's a good idea.
Because I usually shoot 4K HQ, which I mean is essentially the same detail as 8K, but it is nicer to have that 8K of extra punch if I really am cropping in a ton on the frame.
But I was really happy with how the video turned out. And even though it's a sponsored video, we wouldn't do it for a product that we didn't believe in. And I've been saying that for years. And we don't do very many of these throughout a year. There's a handful of sponsored videos. But it certainly helps keep the lights on. It certainly helps us to make podcasts that don't have plugs yet.
Well, and what I like about it is it's an actual product that we use. We try and, if we do a sponsored video, we try and only do it if it's something we actually use. Like the 360 cameras, you're using them all the time now in every shoot almost.
I am. I am. So anyway, this brings up that tweet. And the tweet read, "Why are you sending me Adorama emails? ? I signed up for your photography related emails, not Adorama's marketing junk." And I replied back with the truth. Well, one, it's not marketing junk when they're saying trade in your gear for money. So they're not trying to sell you anything. They're actually trying to give you money by buying something back. But I explained, I'm like, look, that's a great question. The reality is that helps keep the lights on.
Yep.
Right? They don't get my list. They send me the HTML and I put an email together, and I've decided that it makes absolute sense fiscally. It's fiscally responsible and not morally reprehensible to our followers to offer this. It's not like they're trying to sell something. They're saying, do you have used gear? We would like to buy it for cash. And to me, that's worthy. And it goes a long way for what we get paid to put that money in to keep the lights on, to keep Steven paid, to keep Dan paid, and to keep Dan not having a microphone, like all of this stuff. It really does go a long way. That's why we do some of these things. And most people, I think, are smart enough to realize that in business, you have to pick and choose. You have to do certain things to allow you to do other things. And that's why I answered the tweet back and was like, look, this is a really good thing for us. And if you don't like that email, then just delete it. And yes, I do give you plenty of other free shit. So if 99% of my stuff is giving you stuff and I ask something every 1%, then leave me the fuck alone.
And again, it comes down to sending an email out that might actually be worth something to somebody. Like Adorama.com is a website where a lot of people shop, a lot of photographers get their gear and accessories from. It's not like we're sending like Dollar Shave Club random emails to your inbox. We're trying to send something that might be relevant to you.
Penis pills?
I mean, yeah, exactly. I might like that email. I need that.
You know, they've come to me for that. The hymns, right? It's hymns for the hair. I think hymns is for hair. One of them is for hair products. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not promoting your fucking pharmaceuticals. Just like I won't do NFTs, just like I won't do Bitcoin. I'm not doing anything that's pills or anything pill related. I'm not doing anything like that. Just like I wouldn't do green drinks and protein powders and other bullshit like that. I'm not doing it. Anyway, I've got to get to editing these photos from my shoot yesterday with Michael Solomonov.
Who's that?
Of Zahav. He's a restaurateur.
Okay.
If you watch Somebody Feed Phil episode from Philadelphia, you'll see a lot of people that I know, like Mark Vetri, who I'll photograph, Michael Solomonov. You'll see Joe Bedia in there. All these people that I've photographed.
What service is that on? Is that a streaming service?
Netflix.
Or? Okay,
that's
cool.
Netflix. Yeah, Somebody Feed Phil on Netflix. The episode about Philadelphia is really good. You'll see Zahav. You'll see the restaurants. That's where I was photographing. And you'll see on Instagram, I did post one of the photos in the kitchen. I showed Steven the 2 edits that I did today, and his first response pissed me off. He's like, why didn't you try a slow shutter speed?
No, my first response is, why are you shooting at 1/800th of a second?
At 32,000 ISO?
3200 ISO.
3200 ISO
when
at
he's
1.2?
standing still posing for you.
The answer to that is people are running around the kitchen, and I needed a fast enough shutter speed to freeze him as he was walking, and I didn't change it.
He was posing for you for sure.
In this image, he was posing for me, but the images prior to that, I'm getting people in the kitchen doing kitchen-y stuff.
Because you could have been at 800 ISO, 1/200th of a second.
It could have absolutely
Definitely
been much slower.
froze. Yeah,
absolutely. Under the pressure of working fast and not bothering him while he's tasting, cooking, and talking to people, and I didn't want to take up too much time. I just set it to where I set it, got the exposure right, and shot it.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that you said was, why didn't you try? This would be a perfect time to try slow shutter speed.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I did try slow shutter speed. I went down to a 1/5 or 1/8 of a second.
Yes, Jared, get it right.
And 1/8. And unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of background movement going on. So I didn't want to sit there for 10 minutes, or I didn't want to be like, hey, you walk now, go, everybody walk. And it would have been good. The one that would have worked, unfortunately, his eyes are half open in it, and he moves slightly. So at an eighth of a second, it's very difficult to keep. Plus, there's no IS in that 50, right?
There is not, but you're still technically supposed to get up to 8 stops with that RF lens, I believe, or 7.
No,
7
just
or
5. You would just get 5 because you're not going to get 7 or 8. It doesn't have the joint stabilization.
Well, no, they still say the 28 to 70, for example, will get 8, which I don't understand how, but that's what they say.
I don't know how either.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm going to be sharing those images.
Now, one thing, this is now, this was like more of a setup portrait, but you could do like a strobe or a flash coming in with second curtain flash going off and get everyone
Freeze
to run around.
moment.
Super slow-mo. Yeah.
But yeah, no flashes for me. That would probably been distracting to the customers up front.
Yeah, this was, again, if this was like a paid portrait or something, more setup.
Well, the cool thing is, so I reached out to him to photograph because he was following my stuff because he saw my Jesse Ito photos where I photographed Jesse Ito of Royal Izakaya, and he liked my work, and I reached out after we talked, and he says like, yeah, that would be great. I'd love to do this. So what's cool about this is before the shoot, we were setting this all up. And so the day before, he goes, hey, Michelin magazine, the people that give the Michelin stars, they asked me if I have any photos of myself in the kitchen or working or doing anything. And I'm not sure how you do this, if you would want to sell them the images or however it works. I could put you in touch with them, but this is actually good timing. So all I said to him was, whatever you need, you can have, right? Because again, I don't have to make money off of this shoot.
You just want the access. Yeah.
I make money elsewhere. So if this helps him get the pictures that he needs, then awesome. Then there's going to be the people like, you're taking away business from real photographers, but whatever. This is how I choose to do it. But how cool is that? I may end up having images in that magazine.
Very cool.
And get the credit and all of that stuff, which is fine. But this is the networking stuff that you do. So throughout the day of the shoot, and I know we were going to wrap it up, but I like to go out to eat, but I won't say I'm a big foodie. But we stopped at multiple restaurants of his, and it's very Middle Eastern, very Israeli, very, that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. I ate at just one place called Kafar. I had that for lunch, which was good. And then we went to this other one, and he's like, do you like brisket? He had this pita with brisket and all this stuff in it. I'm like, not really, but he's like, you want a bite? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So my thing was to say yes to everything that he was going to give me that day. So I took a bite of that. I'm like, all right, that's
well, and I don't know. Is it an insult if you say no to a chef? I don't know. How does that work?
Yeah, I'm sure they're not. So I chose to say yes to everything.
Yeah, I would probably do the same. Yeah.
He's like, you like duck? I'm like, I've never had duck. He's like, you want to try some? I'm like, sure.
No, yeah.
I'm like, not really, but I'm going to. I'm like, no, I'm like, not really, but I'm going to. So I had the duck. All right, duck was duck. It was different. It was a different texture. It was more of a red meat. It's a dark meat, so it was fine. It wouldn't be something I would order, but I tried it. Then over at Zahav, they had this ground grouper into this kebab thing they wrap, and they put it over these coals, and they make it. And I like fish, so why not try it? I tried it. Okay, cool. Something different I tried. Then they had this chicken that wasn't on the menu, but it was for one of the parties. And he goes to the chef, one of the people preparing. He's like, make sure that you leave some for Jared when you cut a piece for Jared. And they did. He cut the piece. He plated it. The guy plated it. Put the shush on top of it. They call it shush. Just extra stuff on top of it with a pepper. He's like, you like hot pepper? I'm like, no, but put it there because I'm going to try it. So it was like a pickled hot pepper, which I took a bite of, which was it was super, it was spicy, it wasn't terrible, and it was pickled, and it was very garlicky taste. He's like, very garlic, right? Huh. I'm like, yeah, I actually get that. And so the chicken was cool, and then they were cutting like this beautiful steak, and there was a little piece left. He's like, you want? And I'm like, yeah. And I tell him, like, that is the tenderest piece of steak I've ever touched. It was definitely raw. Medium,
I'm like a medium rare fan.
It was pretty rare. I ate it and I'm like, wow, like very good. So and then he's like, you want to eat out in the restaurant because I was done shooting. He's like, you sure you're not hungry? I really wasn't hungry, but I did. I sat out there. I sat out there. I ordered a couple of things off the menu. Took a couple of selfies because I'm humble. There was somebody, the waitress goes, these people want to know, are you Jared Polin? I'm like, why, yes, I am. Why, yes, that's me. And they're like, they got a selfie. And then the next people that sat down next to me, the guy leans over and he's like, I would be very upset if I didn't actually ask if it's all right if we could get a selfie. And so he knew me too. He was from St. Louis with his wife. They just got married. They were on their honeymoon. And so
you didn't tell the waitress, you don't know who I am?
No. But I'll tell you a good thing
Sir,
that
you
happened.
Jared Polin? What?
I'll tell you a good thing that happened. When I ate at his restaurant, Kafar, which is down at like 18th and something or 19th and something, you sit at a table, you order off of the app, and then they bring it to you. So I tried this salmon salad. It had salmon, I got egg, I got avocado, I got all this extra stuff in it, and I wanted more salmon. I was halfway done eating it. So I asked one of the servers, I'm like, is there a way that I could type into the app, pay for another thing of salmon? She's like, well, let me go see what I could do. She's talking. She comes back with a side of salmon and says, here you go. Didn't charge me for it. And my first thought was, did Michael tell them that I was coming, right? And so when I told him this later, because he asked, he's like, how was lunch? I'm like, it was great. I asked for more salmon because I wanted to have a little bit more. And he's like, and I told him, I'm like, they went back and they didn't charge me. He goes, did they know who you were? And I'm like, no, I didn't tell them that I was here to photograph you. And he's like, I love that. He's like, I love that that's what they did. And that was cool. That was cool that I asked for it and I offered to pay. And they just brought me out an extra side of it and put it on. That's how you do business sometimes.
Customer service, yep.
You do the stuff that's like, oh shit, I'm going to come back now because they treated me well.
So getting off the food topic part of this photo shoot, how did the actual shoot go? Like, what did you bring? What glass? All of that. Was there? I mean, it had to be rough lighting, like mixed lighting.
So I loaded up the bag. I took one R3. I actually went through a whole bag. I got down to 19% on one battery, Steven.
That was fully charged?
Yeah, I ended up taking 3,100 pictures in the 6 or 7 hours we were together, or in the 6 hours, however long. 3,100's a lot of pictures, but my bag consists of an R3, a 28 to 70 f2 is my run and gun. There's the 11 to 24, which I did not even use because I don't like how it looks. It's an f4.
It's a little weird when you're shooting people super wide like that too.
And
you get
when
a lot
you
of
get super
distortion,
close, it's too
elongated
distorted.
Faces, yeah.
We need something better. And I just realized like sometimes just too wide is too wide in the certain context. I took the 51.2, which I'm glad I took because that became the staple for me shooting in the kitchen. I took the 85.1.2, which I did a portrait with. I took the 135.1.8, which isn't out on the market. I got one in the mail the other day and I used that to do a portrait and I used that in the boxing gym because he went and he trained. He's like, is it all right if we stop at the gym? I'm like, well, this is your day in the life of, I want to absolutely capture you working out.
Whatever you normally do. Yep.
How important fitness is to keeping you, being that you have to eat all this food and stuff. And so I took that whole bag. Oh, and I took the 100 macro, which I did use at the end of the day to take pictures of some of the food. I actually didn't take any pictures of the food when it was plated. And I'm like, I got to do some of this. And so when they had it underneath the hot lights waiting to go out, and by hot lights waiting to go out, meaning it's literally there for 4 seconds before someone grabs it, I got some pictures just to have some pictures of that food with the macro. I will say that macro in combination with the R3 is it's as light as a feather.
That macro is a very light lens. And yeah, the
So
R3,
light.
you made me pick up the R3 and then the R6 Mark II with a grip and do like a side-by-side comparison. And it's mind-blowing how much lighter the R3 is than an R6 Mark II with a grip. It's like
insane.
And that's with the battery in it and everything. How can a flagship body be this light?
And it puts the Nikon Z9 to shame how heavy that is.
It's like it's like 2 pounds heavier. Yeah,
it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that's what I took for the shoot. I'm happy. I'm in my process of editing. I sent you some of the DNGs. That Skittles works great on some of them, especially the outdoor one that's very colorful. I really think that the 28 to 70 is a great lens for run and gun, and then the 50, anytime you have the opportunity to be in a more static environment where you can use primes, I highly suggest that you do. I would love a 35-1.2. I would love a wider zoom. I could have taken the 15 to 35, which might have been good to use in close, but I want something wider.
What about a 24-1.4?
I have no need for that. I've never had a need for a 24-1.4. I think it's too wide.
That's about as wide as I would go with a prime.
I just think it's too wide for what I do.
If you were stuck in a situation where you needed to use it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'd rather go, I think 35 would be the ideal widest lens I would use, but 24, if I really needed to use it, I'd go that route.
Yep. All in all, I wish I had him cooking more, but that wasn't what he was doing.
More directing and...
Well, he was directing and overseeing. I mean, there's the business side of it. But he did put on the apron and he was making the bread.
He looked the part.
Yeah, no, he did. He's like, I'm going to go do this right now because this is what I do. They all split up doing it. So he and the main chef, like they give the other people breaks, and he took over making the bread that goes in that super duper hot oven. And yeah, it was kind of cool. So I got some cool shots. I'm sure by the time I edit it down, I'll be down to like 40 or 50 of the best from the day.
Perfect.
It may even end up being less that tell the story. But I think I was able to do a good job. If I could have done something and I had the ability to do it, it would have been spending more time trying to get that the slow shutter speed shot with people going around in the background.
Yeah.
So all in all, good day. I enjoy spending my time doing those days in the life. That's what I got, Steven.
All right, let's wrap it up.
We're going to wrap it up. You can text us, the numbers down below in the description. Please give us some ratings. Please text us and give us some comments. Comment on the YouTube videos, too, that you listen to RAWtalk. Hashtag whatever the hell I said earlier. Hashtag Jared's the most humble photographer in the world. And we'll call it a day. Right, Steven?
Yeah, let's call it a day, yep.
Oh, by the way, this entire episode was written by AI. Scripted, fully, 100%.
Actually, I'm not even Steven. This is a robot.
AI robot, Steven.
Beep, boop, beep, boop, boop, boop.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for listening. We'll do another we're going to do them every week, right, Steven?
Yeah, I still have to look and see what we're doing Christmas week. That might be a little tough one for me, but that would be the only one we would take off if we
could probably
did.
pre-record something.
Just depends what we have, if we have enough to talk about,
We
News
could always
is
talk about
obviously
something.
pretty much dead this time of year, so it's tough.
Well, maybe we do something. We'll figure it out.
Oh, and by the way, I didn't get a chance to post my Christmas photo last week, but I have posted it at this point. So check out my Instagram now, because people were starting to follow me and comment on my photo I took like 2 or 3 years ago. And I'm like, no. That's from 2019.
We had our dinner the other Thursday, and it turns out that Steven's wife was not too keen on him sharing the picture early.
Yes. That's why I didn't do it.
That's why he didn't do it. I was like, come on,
Well,
Nicole.
we just officially sent out the Christmas cards like 2 days ago, so they should be showing up in everybody's mailboxes today. Actually, you should get yours today, yeah.
Oh, God. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pick it up and put it right in the trash like I always do.
You better hang it right on your fridge.
Where's it
Every
supposed
time
to
you
go?
open it, you see my face.
I don't want a picture of you and Nicole and Chip on the refrigerator. I have nothing on my refrigerator, actually.
Yeah, we actually hang everyone's Christmas cards on the fridge.
That's because you're humble and...
Exactly.
Yeah, but dinner was good. Dan did not talk at all.
No, he was the quietest person at the table.
Dan talked, but dinner was good. Anyway, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here. Let's wrap it up.
All right.
Thank you very much. This is Jared Polin from photo.com for RAWtalk, episode 29, which I didn't even say at the beginning. Steven, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
You're so good at AI.
Beep, boop, 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 boop.
Bye.
Bye.